Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this trip announcement. First off, I do want to apologize for my voice. It sounds very raspy right now because Friday night we had quite a bit of stuff happen, and I'll go into more detail on that here in a little bit. So you'll have to pardon my voice for a little while here. Hopefully this clears up within the next few days so that I can at least talk normally. But for now, I want to talk about, of course, the recent trip that I took, which most of you have already seen. If you follow me on Instagram, I've already posted about it. And if you also saw what CM Aviation posted, you'll be able to put it all together as to what I've been up to. So this past week, just to put it simply, was the most incredible week of my life. Traveling with not only Connor, but also Anderson of Syracuse Aviation, it was absolutely phenomenal to be with those two for as long as we did this trip, and just seeing, what we all did together, and just looking back on it, it's so surreal just to see it. But I'll certainly go through just a little slideshow of the photos, some of the photos I have imported here. So here we are. This is the first photo that I have, and this is of the first flight that I took as a part of this trip. This is a Frontier Airlines Airbus A320neo that I took from Sioux Falls to Denver. I flew on Wiley the Bison, November 313 Foxtrot Romeo. And I did ask Aero Classics to make this because it's right in that same group of registrations where they have done a bunch of planes in the past, and Andrew told me that he would consider it, so that's at least a start. Doesn't guarantee that it will be made, but certainly some progress there nonetheless. Sorry about that. I had to grab a quick drink so that my voice at least stays somewhat intact. But moving on, this takes us to the next day, the Saturday before Airliners, when we flew the United Airlines 777 from Denver to Chicago O'Hare. My first ever wide body, and also Syracuse's first wide body flight as well. Such an awesome flight that it was. We sat way in the back, but those were where the cheapest seats were, so at least getting the experience of flying on a wide-body for the first time wasn't exactly going to be up front with the United Polaris seats, which were going to be pretty expensive, and even the Economy Plus seats, I think, were also pretty expensive to upgrade to. So we stuck with the normal economy seats in the back, but certainly a fun time nonetheless, flying the 777. And then there's a photo that I took after we landed in Chicago, parked at the gate, and then for the rest of the day, we spent just plane spotting all around the Chicago O'Hare Airport and got plenty of clips, so there will be a plane spotting video on that. And that takes us to later that afternoon when we came back and flew the United 757-200 over to Washington Dulles on one of the Eva Blue aircraft, and also a next cabin configured one. All the 75s have the next cabin, at least the 200s. So that was great to experience the next cabin for the first time. I definitely love the product, and it's really great. I have a friend who raves about it constantly, and, I don't blame him because he's a big United fan, so he was really happy to see me and also the other guys fly on one of these when we did that last weekend. And then there's an in-flight photo, which I always have to get on my phone. I mean, that's just a spectacular shot with the scimitar winglet that's all blue. And then that takes us to the next day, when we did some spotting at Dulles on top of the parking garage, which was horrendously hot. So we only had a couple hours up there before we had to retreat and make our way up to Baltimore so that we could catch our next flight. But first, there's one of the plane spotting pictures that I took, this Turkish 787. This is when we got inside the terminal and just had to rest for a bit because we needed it. I don't even know how much longer we would have lasted out there if we had stayed. But I don't think it wasn't going to be much longer anyway, because I was already starting to sweat, and all the other guys were starting to reach that point too. And then there's our flight down to Charlotte from Baltimore, the Frontier A320neo once again, this time Georgia the Painted Bunting, which has now only become Syracuse's favorite Frontier tail, but also all of our favorite tails. Because there is a model of this that does exist in 1:400 scale, and I know Syracuse especially has loved this specific tail and has wanted to fly on it on at least several occasions, and he got close at one point, but it got swapped out. So the fact that we all got to fly this together was certainly an awesome experience, and certainly meant to be that way. So I will be on the hunt for this model, which unfortunately I didn't see at Airliners. I was hoping someone would have it, but I didn't see it. And then here we are as we're boarding, and then that takes us to the next day. This is now on Monday, and this is when Syracuse and we took the Contour Embraer 140 on a nice little turn up to West Virginia. So my first time on an Embraer ERJ, on a regional jet of any kind for that matter, and first flight with Contour, and my first time flying out of Charlotte in nearly 7 years. Awesome experience that we had. Spent the entire day, at least the first part of the day in Charlotte, and then eventually moved into the flights, of course, but we still got back before sunset, which was great. There we are at what was the final destination on the way out of Charlotte, but of course we turned right back around and flew all the way back to Charlotte, which the flight attendants and I think even the security people, they were like, wow, you're doing the whole turn? And it's like, yeah, we are. We want to collect the segments. So that was a great experience. And then that takes us into the Sullenberger Museum at Charlotte. So this is what Syracuse and I did the next day on Tuesday, just to fill the void. We tried some spotting in the morning, but it was going to get pretty hot really quickly. So we made the effort to go over and spend some time here. So we spent the afternoon. And then from there, the rest of the trip we spent in Atlanta. And that's where you saw, if you saw Connor's video, we all went down there together, spent the time at the Renaissance, and of course at the Delta Flight Museum for Airliners International. I don't even think words can properly describe what I feel from this trip. The Florida trip that we did last year, it only lasted, at least between the time that we had together, it was a little under 24 hours. But now doing this trip, which lasted for just over a week, and the fact that now it's finally, it's over, it doesn't feel right. So, I'm getting a little emotional just reflecting back on this right now, but just thinking about this trip and what we've all accomplished is just amazing. And it makes me feel very grateful to know those two people, Connor and Anderson, and just what great travel companions they are. Connor especially, because he's done nearly 400 flights in his entire flying career, not counting, private pilot stuff, which, that total would probably go closer to 500 if he factored in all of his flight training stuff before he switched to his current focus of aviation management. But, just having all those flights on Connor's end, that experience that he has, it makes me feel more comfortable traveling because I can always go to him if I'm not sure on something and be like, okay, what do you do in this particular situation? Or, how do you navigate this airport? Because odds are he's probably been to that airport. So all the airports we went to, he's been to before on many occasions: Denver, Chicago, Washington, Dulles, Baltimore, Charlotte, Atlanta. He's been there many times, so he was able to give me some very helpful tips and advice on a lot of those airports. And, with Atlanta, I was a bit nervous flying out of there, but thankfully it all went okay. I took Frontier on the way back, flying through Denver just because it was a little cheaper than doing the direct Delta flight, which I would love to do just for the convenience, but not only because of the price, the timing of it didn't work out, because as I'm recording this, if I'd done that, I would still be in Atlanta right now. And as much fun as it would be to spend another day in Atlanta, I'd rather do it if it was more productive instead of just sitting in the terminal all day or standing out in the heat spotting and having nowhere else to stay. But I digress. So that's my trip announcement. Again, I apologize for my very raspy voice, but the part of the reason why it's like that is because Friday night when we were supposed to have our second spotting meetup at Atlanta, we had some storms roll in, and I was yelling and screaming for much of the night. And admittingly, some people may not like that type of content, which is totally fine, but I do plan on posting at least my perspective of it. And I know a couple others, they've already done that as well. So you can certainly check that out as sort of a preview as to what my perspective will be like. So I'm still trying to let my voice recover from that night, just because that was that was one of the rowdiest nights that I've ever been a part of. I don't even know what to say with that. So hopefully you guys enjoy this trip announcement, just as a way for me to get the word out there that we've got a lot of content that's coming this way. So I'm super excited to share it with you all. and I'm excited to get it all put together. I'm getting all the stuff off the SD cards right now and onto my computer, which is going to take me a while, but rest assured, I'm going to have it scheduled to where it will be more spaced out. So content schedule, that'll be coming soon. I got to work on that, and we'll certainly go from there. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.